has traveled far and wide throughout India and has delivered thought-provoking lectures and kindled people interest towards LabVIEW. And he also visited more than 150 Indian engineering institutions and industries. He had conducted more number of hands-on trainings to industrial experts of various domains on LabVIEW basics and data acquisition. He also had conducted many faculty development workshops on various trending technologies, include digital image processing, data acquisition, and control systems. He has delivered 200 plus lectures on experiential engineering education on varied technology topics. His key areas of interest are embedded system, automation, digital image processing, sensors, data acquisition, and signal conditioning, wireless sensor networks. The platform is for you, sir. I request Mr. Vasantakumar V to take over the session.
Thank you so much. Very good morning to everyone. Very quickly, I'll just present my screen so that you people can see. Can anyone give me a confirmation on the screen? Can you people see the screen?
It's visible, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So, very good morning to all once again. So, in continuation to the previous sessions, like whatever we have done, this is going to be this was a 5 days session. So, I think one of my colleagues was also, a part of this day. He was talking to you all about 5G. Right? So, this is going to be a demonstration session where I have brought up a hardware, which is a USRP kit. So, I'm going to tell you about how this hardware works, and I'm going to quickly bring you a demonstration of this hardware also. So this is a hardware basically used in NA technology, not only in NA technology, in association with NA technology, various industries are using this particular kit for 5G research. And also they are planning or taking forward this hardware into a different form factor called as USRP Rio. There is one more device called USRP Rio, which they are using in the research of 6G also. So first, I'll just quickly tell you about the agenda. So today, I'm just going to quickly tell you people about how this hardware USRP, it's basically used by SDR. I'll tell you everything like what is SDR, how it is being used, how this hardware can be used in MIMO networks, how this can employ 5G, everything I'll be telling you. And beyond that, as per the heading of the AI-based sensor acquisition for 5G, according to that, I'll also be telling how National Instrument is handling these kind of AI-based sensor acquisition and 5G applications. Right? So very quickly, I'll bring you the SDR with LabVIEW and USRP. All right. So in the screen, if you see, when you can see a hardware called as USRP. This is a hardware which is called as USRP. First of all, you people should know what is this SDR is. So this SDR also called as software defined radio. It's a technique in which you can try to use hardware platform to implement your radio functions. That's the ultimate goal of doing your SDR. Why this is very much needed? Why software-based hardware platform has to be implemented? The reason is, so now if you want to do a cognitive network, for example, so you want to try to design a smart system where just analyze the spectrum and understand where there is a white space, where there is a gray space. And based on the white space, you want to transmit some signal automatically. So that's where automation comes into picture. All right. So you want to automatically find which frequency is available. So these things you should not be tuning it. Say, let me see. Just imagine manually. I have a very big band. I have. In this band, I have to tune to every spectrum and try to find out which space is having no traffic, white space. And then I'm going to use that particular frequency to transmit. Rather, what I'll do is I'll just try to go for a power spectrum analysis. I'll try to analyze the entire spectrum, try to find out where there is a traffic is very less. So sometimes what happens is now I'm transmitting in, let me say, 5 gigahertz frequency. So after some time, let me say you're continuously transmitting. After some time, let me say it happens, that particular frequency is traffic. Right. So now what has to happen is your system should analyze that by using a spectrum analogy and then it has to switch its carrier frequency from 5 gigahertz to like maybe 2.5 or 3 gigahertz, and then transmit it. So this has to be automatically shifting. This is what is called a smart system, smart automation, a software-defined network. Okay, a software-defined radio network. This is what we are planning to do with USRP. So when I talk about USRP, this is a USRP device. I don't know how many people have used this before or seen this before. So this is a very basic model of USRP. USRP basically stands for Universal Software Radio Peripheral. Okay, Universal Software Radio Peripheral. So this particular device has two receiver and one transmitter. It has, right? So you have cables. I have cables here. So using the cables, I'm just trying to transmit the data and receive it. All right. So depending upon the antenna, you can also judge how far the data has to be sent. The distance can be, you can plan the distance, how much distance you want to transmit. All right. So you have indications. If you see here, there is also indications A, B, C, D, E, F. So these are the indications here. Very quickly, I'll just take you through it. So A will be useful to understand the transmission status. B will be useful to find out the status of the MIMO. This hardware also can be used for MIMO applications, as I told you. All right. So it can be useful for MIMO application. So B, the B LED is useful to understand the MIMO status. C once again is for the receiving status, because this has a transmitter and a receiver, right? So to understand the receiving status, you can have you'll have C. D is for firmware update. See, these are like completely software oriented, where the LabVIEW software will control this entire application. In this case, what happens is you should have a firmware for every hardware. Not only this, any hardware which is basically controlled by a software will have firmware. That is where SDR comes into picture. So firmware is very, very important, because what is SDR? Software controlled radio peripheral is SDR. All right. So what we are going to do is we are going to flash a firmware. I'm not going to flash it in this demonstration because it is a huge process which I'm not going to do, but I will be showing where to do it, how to do it. All right. But I'm not going to do it. So firmware indication will be shown on the D, and E is once again for local oscillator. See, this hardware internally has two local oscillator for two antennas, two channels we have. For that we have two local oscillators. So these local oscillators are perfectly locked for the reference signal or not. So for that you'll be using the indication of E, and F is basically used for power signal. So if you have powered it or not, that F will be basically visible. All right. So these are the indication light. And coming back to your entire system, how it looks is basically this connects to your system. You can program this using LabVIEW through Ethernet cable. So you can see here, this is the Ethernet cable. It basically, your computer should support 1 Gbps Ethernet port. Okay, 1 gigabit Ethernet capability must be there. Most of the computers might not have, laptops might not have. Usually your desktops usually have this feature. So you have two antennas here. Two antennas can be connected here. This is channel number 1, which is a trans receiver. This is channel number 2, which is only a receiver. All right. So there is 2 channels, and this is where we are going to connect. In case if you are connecting for MIMO and other stuffs, then you can use the other extension card. Can you see here? It's a MIMO connection, and this is a very simple power supply. Okay, this hardware is 2920. There are different versions. You can see that there is a different frequency range. This hardware, which I'm going to demonstrate today to you people, is 2920. All right, so it works from a frequency. I told you this is the lowest end, which I'm just showing a demo. So this works from the frequency range of 50 megahertz to 2.2 gigahertz. All right. So nowadays there are different hardwares. I told you this hardware is used for 6G also right now. So they are also come up with devices which are working at 12 to 18 gigahertz frequency also. So NI is providing some hardwares for 6G research. I told you it is not launched for academic purpose right now. This hardware, which I'm showing a demonstration of 2920, is available for academic purpose. Whereas the other module, USRP Rio module, are not available for academic purpose right now, which is a top end hardwares are not available for academic purpose. The lower end are still available. Lower end in the sense which works on the this spectrum, the frequency range, it is available. The high end is not available because they are still in the research work. But industries are using it in research work. Most of the industries, Cisco is using, Siemens is using, and Samsung is also using. These are the different. There are a few more. TEDx. Heard about TEDx? TEDx is one more company which is working on NI products. So these are the n number of products which are being used in 6G research. So those hardwares are not currently available for academic purpose right now. All right. So how this basically works? Very simple. So you have a computer to program which runs LabVIEW. This is the software which is going to run, and then you have the transceiver. So transceiver is something, but it has a transmitter and receiver on it. You can consider this as to be a transceiver. This is RF hardware platform. Okay, radio frequency hardware platform, radio frequency software platform. They can be connected through an Ethernet cable. All right. As I told you, here's the slot. You can see here's the slot to connect your Ethernet cable to communicate with your LabVIEW. So your LabVIEW will write a program using LabVIEW, and you'll be able to and maybe you will not be able to deploy the code into to USRP. I'll repeat it. I don't know. Mahindra is one such college which has a lot of history of NI technology and hardware. So they have used a lot of LabVIEW software, and they have used a lot of NI products. They should have been knowing by this time, you can deploy the code into NI hardware. Okay. So you can deploy the code usually into NI hardware, but this product doesn't allow you to deploy any code. That is the reason it comes with the indication. If you can deploy the code, you can connect it and understand what is happening in the hardware through monitoring. Okay. So since you can't deploy the code, it has some indications, lights and other stuff. But there is a device called as USRP RIO. RIO stands for reconfigurable input output. Okay. This is a simple USRP, whereas that is a USRP RIO where you can deploy the code into it. Whereas here it is not possible, and this is not FPGA driven also. This USRP is not FPGA driven, whereas USRP RIO is FPGA driven and RT processor controlled. All right. So you'll be connecting this through LabVIEW software. What are the softwares needed in LabVIEW? I'll just quickly tell you. You'll be needing USRP toolkit. Okay, there's a toolkit called USRP toolkit. This supports only USRP, not USRP RIO. There is a different software for USRP RIO. So USRP toolkit is needed. Then modulation toolkit is needed. So in LabVIEW, there is a toolkit called as a modulation toolkit, which allows you to do the digital modulation and analog modulation. Modulation, demodulation, both are possible. Okay. So, and you can just transmit the data. Today, I'll be showing you one demonstration with the modulation technique also. All right. So how this is basically going to happen is your modulation, demodulation of your application will happen in the LabVIEW. So that is the reason we are installing the modulation toolkit. All right. Apart from that, your conversion of digital to analog and RF upconversion. Upconversion is nothing but converting your data into a signal and sending it to the RF through RF range. So same is going to be RF down conversion, where what happens is your signal will convert into data, so that you can bring it to LabVIEW and you can view it. So this is what this SDR component is. So transmitter receiving will happen in the hardware level, whereas your modulation, demodulation will happen in the software level. All right. So a simple application of transmission I'm just trying to show you. So you have icons. The APIs are available. So once you install the USRP toolkit, you'll be able to find these functions in your palette, which I'm going to show you. Okay, I'll show a demonstration. This is a simple LabVIEW code. LabVIEW is a graphical program language. And is everyone comfortable with LabVIEW? Because I'm going to show a demonstration of LabVIEW. So hope everyone understands the basics of LabVIEW. So I don't want to go with the basics. Am I right? Can anyone just give me a confirmation on that? Hello? Am I audible? I just want to ask, can anyone just message me at least? So is everyone cared about this LabVIEW? Because this demonstration is going to be on LabVIEW only. So I'm just going to quickly show you about how this hardware is supposed to be programmed. So when it comes to NA technology, USRP is not the only kit which is used for 5G or SDR. Okay, there are multiple hardwares which is available. They're also giving millimeter wave hardware, where you can just try to simulate your millimeter application and you can do it. Then you have massive MIMO. MIMO setup is also available, where it consists of USRP, USRP RIO, optocoupler, and transmission channels, and then synchronizing devices. So these are the different products what NA actually give you on 5G and SDR. This is one product. So when you're configuring your USRP, there are 6 important parameters you have to take care. All right, you have 6 parameters to take care. Number one is, since this hardware is communicating through Ethernet port. It has a it has a IP address. Okay, this has an IP address. So the standard IP address for this device is 192.168.10.2. This is the standard IP that comes for this device. Okay, all device of NI USRP comes with this IP only by default, manufacturing IP address. You can change it if you wish. Now what you'll do is, since your device is connected to your computer and you're programming using computer, you have to configure your system's IP to be the same. All right, and then you have IQ rate. IQ rate is nothing but for every signal you have the real and imaginary component, or you can also call this in phase and quadrature data. Okay, so this is a IQ is basically nothing but in phase and quadrature sampling rate. Okay, and then carrier frequency. Carrier frequency is nothing but that's the frequency where you're going to transmit the signal. At this frequency, you're going to transmit the signal. Then you have to choose the antenna. So transmission, you have only one channel, so no issues about that. But when it comes to reception, there are two channels. Okay, so RX1 or RX2. If you're transmitting, it is going to be TX1. And then gain, to send the data, what is the gain and how many samples. So if you're receiving the data, especially when you're receiving the data, you should specify at what sampling rate you're trying to collect the information. The fetch size, okay, how many samples to be fetched, because you're acquiring the data. So you will also have a toolkit called as a USRP configuration utility toolkit, where we'll try to configure your device, and this is where you'll flash your firmware. I was telling you about the firmware, which version of firmware is being installed into the software, into the hardware, and if you want to flash it, how to flash it, everything can be done using the software only. Anyway, I'll just show you that demo also. So I'll quickly tell you what are these parameters. Okay, so IQ rate is nothing but it's more similar to your bandwidth. So what is the range of the data you're gonna transmit, or in what range you're gonna transmit and receive? That is basically is your IQ rate. Okay, the bandwidth of your transmission. Okay, so if I say my IQ rate is 1 M, okay, 1 megahertz, it means that the range my data is going to try to, my antenna is going to search for the data, right? My antenna is going to search for the data which is being transmitted. So it will be searching in the location of what I mentioned in the IQ rate. All right. So then coming your carrier frequency. Carrier frequency is nothing but the exact frequency in which the data is being transferring. So it basically searches for the carrier frequency inside the bandwidth of IQ rate. The data will be searched. When you are receiving the data, the reception antenna, what it does is, it tries to search for the carrier frequency information on the bandwidth mentioned in the IQ rate. All right. Then gain is nothing but, you can see here, what is the power level. So how much power you're trying to, what power you're trying to acquire the information. All right. That is basically a gain. Number of samples is very simple, so 1 divided by IQ rate will be a number of sample. All right. So coming back to your application, if you have used LabVIEW before, you will be knowing that it's the same like how you configure other hardwares. So you have to initialize your device, and then you have to configure what type of acquisition or what type of transmission, what type of reception you want to do, and then you send a command to the controller, so that the controller will be locking the local oscillator and try to start the transmission or reception. And then you can go for read or write application inside a while loop. So whatever you see here, this is a while loop. Okay, this is a while loop. So inside that, you'll be trying to do this task. Finishing it, once you are stopping the loop, you can stop the acquisition, and then you can close the memory which you have created for the device. All right. So this is a sequence you'll be using. All right. This is a sequence you'll be using. And the reason why we use a while loop only across this is a while loop. If people who are there who doesn't know LabVIEW, I'm just quickly telling you, you can see here, this is the while loop. Okay. So this is a while loop, and here you can see here, this is how a while loop looks like in graphical programming language. Okay. So using a while loop, we are just trying to do the read or write process again and again. Why we don't keep these items, initialize or configure or start, stop or close inside this? We don't want those applications to happen, or that particular mode of action to happen repeatedly. All right. So you don't want that to happen repeatedly. So what we do is we are trying to do all these things outside the while loop, and this particular read and write will happen within the while loop. Okay. So Apart from that, these are like normal thing. I'll just anyway show you a demo. And coming back to your modulation toolkit, there are features which is available when it comes to modulation toolkit, because you are transmitting and receiving in USRP. Beyond the transmission and reception, you have other features also you want to perform, other tasks also you want to perform. So you can perform, your modulation technique, like, it can be analog modulation, digital modulation. When it comes to analog modulation, the basic items like, AM, FM, PM, these things will be available. And when it comes to, digital modulation, the list of, digital modulation applications are possible. Beyond that, you can also customize your particular modulation using the formulas, whatever formula you have for modulation. If you can have the formulas for the modulation, you can also use those formulas and try to configure your own, modulation technique. But only thing is, you need an extra toolkit called as a MathScript toolkit, where what happens is, it allows you that particular MathScript toolkit. What happens is, it allows a mathematical scripting to happen. What is mathematical scripting is the formula, based on the formula, you can just, do the modulation technique, right? That's what it is. And when it comes to visualization, it supports 2D, 3D, eye, and constellation, and even other parameters is needed for your, visualization. And modulation analysis also is possible, like, burst timing measurement, bit error rate measurement, frequency deviation measurement. All these analysis will be possible. Apart from that, you can also, go for, error injection. So if you're having error injection, so how to add an error, the different types of error you can add, like, noises, different types of noises you can add to it. And then if you want to balance the gain, how to do it. And if you want to just include or, try to reject the noises, how to do it. All these applications are completely available for this. Okay. And apart from that, when you're transmitting and receiving, very important application, what you'll be doing is, you'll be doing channel encoding and, source encoding. These two things will be doing. I'll just come back to that. What is channel encoding and source encoding, I'll tell you. So these applications will be included in the modulation toolkit. All right. So that's the reason we use USRP along with modulation toolkit, because you can generate the signal of your own wish and just try to transmit through this hardware. So this hardware will act like just a transmission and reception unit. That is all it does. But all your processing, all your monitoring, all the analysis, everything happens in lab level using a modulation toolkit. All right. So this is how your basic digital communication, digital transmission reception happens. So you have signal. The signal which will be, it's a bit signal, you will be doing a source coding. After source coding, you'll be doing a channel coding. If you ask me what is a source coding and channel coding, I can just brief it in such a way. Source coding is more similar to removing the unwanted bits. Okay, so by removing the unwanted bits, you're making your signal more efficiency into the bandwidth range. Okay. Channel encoding is the process where you'll add, the packet formation you say, right? You have to convert into a packet if you want. Right, so those kind of packet formation happens on a channel coding. Then modulation, depending upon what type of modulation you want to do, you can go for different types of modulation. So modulation, what does is, it will generate an IQ signal. IQ is nothing but, as I told you, in phase and quadrature signal will be generated, and then you will convert that IQ into a I plus Q signal. I plus Q signal you will just convert and just up convert it. Up conversion is nothing but sending the data through the channel or antenna. Okay, and the same will be in the reverse. You'll down convert, you up convert it. So you'll down convert it, you demodulate it, and you do channel demodulating, and you do source demodulating, and the data will be available. Okay, so this will be available. Clear? So when it comes to application level, these are the functions you'll be basically using. So they have modulation toolkit functions, right? Anyway, I'll show this demo to you. So you can perform everything API level. So whatever relative step of transmission reception you want to do can be done using functions used in a modulation toolkit. All right. So only modulation toolkit will help you doing this. But if you want to do it in a real time, right? So this up conversion will be done in the hardware level, because sending and receiving the data through antenna will happen with the hardware level. So how this will be looking is, you can generate or you can have some signal, and the source coding, channel coding, you can do it in LabVIEW. Modulation technique can be performed in LabVIEW level, and then the data will be given to the hardware. So the hardware will be transmitting, and once again you can receive through a different hardware or the same hardware, like a loop back. You can do it, or you can also have a different hardware. Okay, the distance always depends on the antenna. Okay, the distance always depends on the antenna. For time being, since I'm not using multiple devices, I'm not bothering much about the distance. I'm using only one device, where channel 1 I'm going to use as transmitter, channel 2 I'm going to use a receiver. That is what I'm going to do. And then after collecting the signal, once again, you have to, IQ signal is nothing but your, as I told you, it's in phase and quadrature that can also be represented as a real and imaginary signal. Okay, real and imaginary signal, you can use it, and you can, in lab you will do that. Okay, you will see that we'll convert your original signal into a real and imaginary component and then transmit it to the the USRP. Okay, so this is what we'll be doing. Okay. So just very quickly, I'll just take you to a brief idea of what connection I'm going to do. The reason why I'm just showing this many times is, the reason is I'm not showing you what is the connection here. If this was a offline classroom training, I would have been showing what type of connections I'm doing. All right. So right now I'm unable to do that because it's online training, but I can connect to camera and I'll show you how this is being done, and that is okay. But beyond that, the connection is pretty simple. What I've done is I have a USRP which is connected to antenna. The other USRP, I'm not using different USRP. This is how we are supposed to use, but right now what I've done is I've connected another antenna to this connector, to this receiver channel. So this will transmit and this will receive. But in reality, it's pretty different, where you'll transmit and receive on a different USRP. But I can do it in the same level. All right. So what I'll do is I'm going to quickly show you how this basically I'm going to start. Okay. So first of all, what I'm supposed to do is I'll open my network and sharing center. The reason is I want to set the IP address for my computer. All right. I'm supposed to set the IP address for my computer. I'm connecting the Ethernet cable. Now you can see the Ethernet is available. Okay. You can see the Ethernet is available. I'll right click on it and go for my properties. Okay. So I'm just configuring my Ethernet IP address. I'm going to configure. I'll come here, go to properties. Okay. So I'll just say what IP address I wanted. I'll type it. The hardware's IP address, I repeat, the hardware's IP address is 192.168.10.2 is IP address of the device. So I can take any number except 10.2. Okay, I'm just going for 10.5, for example, and I'll say okay. So your IP address of your system is 192.168.10.2. My system IP address is 192.168.10.5. Okay, this is the IP address of the both the devices which are using computer. And what I'll do is I'll go for command window to check the communication. So I'll ping 192.168.10.2. Okay, you can see that from my system, this is the IP address of my Rio. It's the IP address of my USRP, and you can see that 4 packets are sent and this received successfully. There is no loss, which means that there is communication available. Okay, so now what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to launch a USRP utility. Once you install the software, you'll get this USRP configuration utility. All right, so you can see that the device is already detected. You can see the device is already detected. It is multiple times detected. That is okay, but you have to see the device here, because I was trying to send and receive the packet, right? So it was trying to 4 times it was trying to make the connection and receive it. That is the reason you can see 1 actual connection and 4 transmission reception packet. Because of that, it is available. But normally you'll have only 1 device being shown. You can see 192.168.10.2 Ethernet cable. All right. So it is done, which means that the device is being configured. All right. So you can see the device IP address is also here. It means it's fine. So now I'll come to LabVIEW. I'm launching LabVIEW software. This is the software we are going to use to program this particular hardware. All right. So where you are supposed to find this function, or the API is related to this application is right click go to instrument IO on the block diagram, right click on the block diagram, instrument IO. All right. So instrument driver. If you want to use USRP, you will use this. Okay, these functions for receiving, for transmitting. All right. If you are using USRP Rio, you'll be using these functions. All right. Very simple. Okay. So if there is anybody who's new who doesn't know what is LabVIEW, this is the programming environment for any technology or any product from National Instrument will be programmed using this software. This is a front panel and this is a block diagram. Front panel has all the inputs and output terminals. Like you have graph. Graph is an output terminal, right? Because you want to see the data, and you can have items to set the data. You can just set the information. So, all these things are available. A block diagram is a place where your actual coding logical items will be available, right? So if I want to do addition of two numbers, for example, I'll just put add function, input number 1, I'll name it as A. I'll take input number 2 because I told you, right, all the inputs and outputs are available in the front panel. Okay, if I want to add them, just simply connect it. So this is a graphical programming where graphically, sorry, this has to be a control. Okay, so I'll connect them, give some input for A, for example, some random numbers I'll just give. Even can be fractional numbers. I'll just slightly increase the size so you can see this data. All right. Even this can be a fractional number. All right. So when I run this program, here there is a run button at the top. Okay. When I run it, you can see the data are updating. So if I run it again, I change the values and run it again, it will update. All right. If I want continuous update, like as soon as I change it, I want the output to be updated here. I can either go for run continuous, the next function, or I can use loops, structure, while loop. Because why I'm showing this is I'll be using this many times in our demonstration. I'm just quickly showing you how this works. So you have to create a condition. I'll right click on this terminal and create control. All right. So fine. So when I'm running it, you can see that any changes I make, it automatically updates spontaneously. Right? Spontaneous updates will be there. When I stop it, the loop stops. Any more changes will not give you updates. You have to run the program. Simple. Okay. So this is all like the basics of programming in LabVIEW. So you have functions, you drag and drop them. Front panel have all the inputs and outputs. Block diagram has all the APIs needed to do the application. Simple. Okay. So right click. I'll go for first. What I'm going to do is I'm going to generate an IQ signal. So I'm going to take signal processing. I'll take some random signals. Okay. Some random signal I'll take, and that signal I'm going to generate. Okay. So through USRP I'm going to do it. Okay. I'm going for signal processing, waveform generation. I'll take a sine signal. Okay. It can be anything. I'm just taking a sine signal. Okay, so you have supposed to mention the frequency. I'll create a constant. I don't want to change it during the runtime, so I'm just leaving it to be a constant. Okay, so let the frequency be 10. Okay, the frequency is 10. The amplitude, it can be anything. For example, let me say I will just put the amplitude to be 0.5. Okay, the amplitude is 0.5. This function, I'll give the label. Okay, and then you have phase. So phase, I'll give it 0. Okay, phase I can give it 0, and the signal is going to come out. I want to see the signal, so I'll take a waveform graph on the block diagram, on the front panel, graph, waveform graph. Okay, and I'll connect it here and run the program. Yes, you can see the signal, sine signal is being generated. What I'll do is I'll take the one more same function of this. I'll take one more same function. Like I can copy paste also. I can do that. Control C, Control V. Okay, taking one more code, same, but only difference is I'm going to make it phase shift is going to be 90. Okay, this is 90 phase shift because this is I and Q. I and Q are always 90 degree. They have a 90 degree phase shift. So I want to plot them together. I'll go to array. So this will build an array. So I'm going to build these two into a single array. So this waveform and this waveform, sorry, and this waveform, I connect it here. So now you'll be able to see two signals. All right, I have two signals. The white color signal is your I data, and this is red color is your Q data. Simple. What I've done is very simple. I've just taken two signals, which is our 90 degree phase difference from each other, and I'm just trying to plot it as a IQ data. So this is the data I'm going to send and receive. All right. So now I'll quickly go for instrument IO, instrument driver, NI USRP. I'm going to transmit. So this application I'm going to transmit. So I'll take this here. Okay. First, I have to open. All right. So I'll just quickly move this here. Okay. I'll open. So to open, I need the device information. So device information is nothing but the IP address. So 192.168.10.2. This is the IP address of the device. All right. So this will create a memory and opens the device connection. Okay. So then it is going to be NI USRP configure signal. You have to configure the acquisition, right? So configure signal. So IQ rate, the bandwidth, right? So it can be the default value, no issues. Sorry. Both can be 100K, no issues. So your carrier frequency and the IQ rate, I'm just letting it to be the default value of 100K. Okay. Then you have gain. Gain, I don't want any gain, so I'll leave it to be 0. Don't worry, if you give 0, it doesn't mean the signal is not going to generate it. Many people think that since I'm giving gain is 0, so the data is not going to come. No, it means that there is no gain at all. The normal signal is being transmitted. So here the antenna name, I'm going to transmit from TX1. All right, TX1, the antenna. This is the configuration I do. All right. So this is a set of configuration I basically do. Okay. Even in this one, you can specify what the sampling rate you want. The signal you are generating, right? You can specify what is the sampling rate. So this can be 1000. No issues. I'm just simply using all the default values only. No big deal. All right. Fine. I'll keep this aside. All right. Then I'm supposed to write the data. So I'll use this function to write the data. Okay. From here to here. From here to here. I'll slightly make it bigger. And now I want this write function to happen multiple times, right? So I'll enclose this entire system within the while loop. Okay. So this particular thing will happen multiple times. Okay, this particular item will happen multiple times. So now what I'll do is, so these two signals I have, right? I'm supposed to merge them together. I told you IQ data should be turned into I plus Q data. So I'll just go for this function. This allows me to merge them. But before that, I have to extract their data. So this will extract my signal information. All right. So this is the samples of I, samples of Q. I'm merging them. Okay, this will merge. The function where I get it is go to numeric, complex. You can see real and imaginary to complex. So I told you I and Q data, I'm turning into a I plus Q data, real and imaginary to complex. Okay. So, and then I have to build it into a waveform. Okay, I'm building it into a waveform. to build it, connect this. Other data like, start time, the sample difference, the sample difference, everything, I take it from the original signal only. So original signals, start time, original signals, DT. DT is nothing but the time space between each and every samples. Those things I use it from here only. Okay, the original signal only. Where I got this function is right click, waveform, get waveform is to break down the elements, build waveform is to build them. Okay, so build waveform. This data, I'm gonna connect it to this data. Getting it? Yes. So that is all is your code. And after this, I'm gonna close it outside the loop. All right. So to stop the loop, I'm using a stop button. Whenever you use a loop in LabVIEW, especially with hardware, try to give a small delay. Try to give a very small delay. All right. So let me check if I've done it right. So what I've done is I've taken two signals. After that, I'm just breaking down the sampling data. Okay, the samples data, I've broken it down. Both will have, this signal and this signal, both will have the same time information, time parameter, because we are using the same, like number of samples and frequency rate, we are using the same. All right. So I'm just sending it to this particular information. Okay. So here you can choose. Here you can choose single channel. You want a double data, DBL data, or you want to go for a waveform data. Okay, I'm going for a waveform data. All right. So here the signal is supposed to be generated. I'm supposed to acquire it, right? To acquire, I'll take a new code. Acquire is going to be pretty simpler. So I'm going for, once again, measurement IO, USRP, this time receive. Okay, this time receive. So I'll use open, then configure, okay, start, okay, fetch, abort, and close. So this will be the sequence. So I've already done the code. Maybe I can just quickly open that and I'll show you. So this will be the sequence. Okay, I'll take a while loop and close only this particular part. And the data which comes from here, you have to turn it down into IQ data. All right, complex, we used real imaginary complex. Now we'll use complex to real and imaginary. Okay, this is the data. Okay, so the data will come. Now you have to plot it. That is all you have to do. So what I'll do is I have already done this. I don't want to. I hope you understood what I'm doing. So I'll just show you that. Yeah. Transmit and then reception. All right. Only thing is 192.168.10.2. Active antenna. Which antenna I'm using? PX1. Same here. 192.168.10.2. It's going to be RX1. There seems to be some error. I'll delete them. These things are not needed. You can see nothing. The same thing. Can you see? Open, configure, initiate, or start, fetch data. You can see complex to imaginary, and I'm just plotting them. That is all it is. All right. The same configuration. Configurations are like no changes. Same here. When it comes to PX, same. Two signals. You can see two signals. This is 0 phase. This is 90 phase. Breaking down the data. Y data, the sample data, real, imaginary to complex, plotting it. That is all. This is once again to plot these things. Maybe if you don't want, I'll remove this. No issues. I'll remove this. Maybe I'll put this here. So you can see, compare the signals. All right. So I'll run this program. Once again. The IQ data is coming. Okay. Okay. And then this is okay. The signal is visible now. It was auto scaled. Now I'll come to the receiver. Can you see? I've transmitted and received. You can see there is a data being coming here. All right, whatever I'm transmitting is coming here. You can see I'm just touching the antenna. Okay, I'm touching the antenna. You can see there is a distortion when I touch the antenna. All right. So if I stop this code here, just watch it. Transmission, if I stop it, you can see the signals are lost here in the reception. It's trying to receive, but there is no data. Okay. And here, rather than know this IQ rate or the carrier frequency, if I change these things, for example, from here I just make it into 150 mega, some different frequency. When I try to receive it, you'll see the data are not available. All right. So you're transmitting from this information. You're supposed to acquire at this information only. All right. So I'll run this program. You'll be able to get the data. I think the antennas are loose. Antennas have got loose. Yeah, now it's fine. All right. Whatever I'm transmitting, I'll be able to receive it. And this can be from two different devices also, because we are transmitting an RF frequency. The frequency can be, you can use any frequency from, up till 2.2 gigahertz. You can use any frequency, no issues about this. All right. So, any doubts in what I'm doing this? Just removing the antenna. Yeah. Any doubt in this? Anybody?
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, how to measure power in this transmission?
How to measure the
Power in transmission and receiver part.
Yes, sir. We have a toolkit for that. Power spectrum analysis toolkit we have. Okay. So using that toolkit, you'll be able to.
Any should be.
I think I have not installed that toolkit. I have not installed that toolkit.
It's a separate toolkit or some kind.
It is a separate toolkit, sir. It is a separate toolkit which allows you to see the spectrum information.
It is belongs to the LabVIEW or some other special?
No, sir. It belongs to LabVIEW. See, likewise, I'm seeing these functions, right? You'll also have one more option here. Can you see after RF communication? So this is there. RF communication is there. Modulation technique is there. After that, below this, there will be also called as power spectrum analysis. Power spectrum analyzer. You'll get it.
It is not okay. You didn't install it.
In my system, I have not installed it. I have not installed it. That's what I'm trying to say. You can install it if you want. I'll send you the link also to download and install. So you can try that out.
For this toolkit, we can't. We need to system and that USRV kit separately and connect. We do the.
Yeah, what we are doing is we are generating a signal. If we want modulation also, we'll do it in the software only. After doing it, to transmit and receive, we use this hardware. Because suppose we want this.
Suppose because of we can't, some college, some departments, we can't afford both the LabVIEW software because it may cost some amount.
Yes,
so if we have that USRV kit needs, we have already the USRV kit.
Okay.
We don't afford for this.
So you're trying to say you don't have software, you don't want to use this software. Only the hardware I have. Can I program it and you can use it? Okay.
Yes.
There is one free software for this hardware. For this hardware only, USRP hardware. It is called ETUS. Okay. ETTUS. ETUS software. So actually, National Instruments and ETUS company together have launched this hardware. Okay. So National Instruments has come up with one software called as LabVIEW to program this device. ETUS has come with one more software from their side called as ETUS GUI, I think. I'm not sure about the name, but ETUS has the software. You can go to the website and see. For programming USRP 2920. That software is a free software, I believe. Okay. So using that, you can once again program it. But I think you will have limitations in that. You will not have full-fledged applications like what LabVIEW has. That will be one disadvantage, but still anything related to RF will be available, sir. So RF related application like transmission, reception, modulation techniques, and also your power spectrum analysis you want to do, all those things are available in that tool. But beyond that, you'll not have anything. For example, you want to connect cloud here, you want to do some artificial intelligence, you want to do some applications where you do cognitive radio, something like that. You do those applications may not be available there. You'll have limitations, but LabVIEW has full-fledged application. That is all the difference. You can use that software for programming this hardware. That is also possible.
Is there any possible to design a LabVIEW that is program in one system and imported into the LabVIEW? That means USRV hardware and use it separately?
Yes, it is possible, but the software which you are using to develop LabVIEW application should be a deployment software version. Okay, in LabVIEW there are different versions. Like Windows, you have home version, ultimate version. Like different versions you have for Windows, right? Like same way, LabVIEW has different versions. Student edition you have full development version, full deployment version you have. In that you should use deployment version. So in deployment version, what it does is it will allow you to design the application in one computer and convert it into a exe file or installer file and put it onto another computer. That computer will not have, the second computer will not have LabVIEW, but it has the run engine to execute the application. You can't develop it, but you can run the code. So you have to use to develop that application, you should have LabVIEW deployment version, deployment system you should need.
Sir, one more thought. Actually, National Instruments provide a communication suite for this kind of.
Yes, sir. Communication suite is a combination of everything. You were asking about the analysis also, right? So that will also be included. That is like a package, combo package. It has USRP toolkit, USRP Rio toolkit, modulation technique toolkit, and the MathScript toolkit. I was telling about MathScript for custom modulation analogy, right? So that toolkit will be included, and also your power spectrum analysis toolkit. So all these toolkit together will be called as a suite, communication suite. So that if you install that, you will get everything, sir. All right. Fine, sir. Thank you. Any other queries?
Sir, good morning, sir. It was a nice session, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I have some basic knowledge about NI. I worked on the front panel as well as block diagram for numeric, some basic things, sir.
Okay.
So I have doubts on that is how to process the image then by applying edge detection, filtering, those concepts.
Okay, madam. You want to know how to do that?
Yes,
Am
sir.
I right?
Yes, sir.
So, edge detections for images you're asking, right?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. You have to install a toolkit called as a vision development module.
Okay.
So sorry that I had vision development module. You can see here vision module. Yesterday only I installed because I wanted to show this particular demo. So I was installing the toolkit. Yesterday only I installed. I'm sorry about that. But if you go for that, you have all the techniques related to image processing toolkit. Yes, vision development module, the name is. You can install that, you'll get all the things. If you want real-time camera interface also, because you have a real-time camera, web camera, or a Giga E camera you have, let me say. If you want to interface it, then you have to go for vision acquisition module for acquisition purpose, camera acquisition purpose, and for processing you need a vision development module.
Okay.
This is what you'll be needing.
Sir, all type of filtering, everything is available in that vision model.
It is available, madam. I can't say all because I'm not sure. So I can't say all are available, but you can customize your own filters, madam. That is possible. You can customize your own filters. That is possible. You can convert an image information into a signal and use signal processing filters also. If you go for a signal that I have now here, so you have filter techniques.
I see.
Okay, so you can just try to use these filter techniques, and there is one more toolkit called as advanced signal processing toolkit. Okay, where you can do all the wavelet analysis also. I think that also I have included. Maybe I have included. You can see wavelet analysis. So many people will be needing wavelet analysis when it comes to image. So wavelet packet, how to break down into wavelet packet, those things are also possible because we used to do this DCT, DWT analysis, discrete wavelet, discrete process, right? For those things in image processing, we'll use these things. All right, madam.
Okay. Sir, whether you can use this wavelet for medical image processing, or we have to use biomedical palette for that particular?
No, not really needed, madam. Not really needed. Biomedical toolkit palette, what it will allow you to do is, it will allow you to do a ready-made acquisition of data from biosignals. Okay.
Okay.
So if you are collecting the data and you want to map it into a PQRS signal, it will allow you to do it. Let me
Okay.
say you are acquiring a BP data and you want to see the envelope diagram, for example. Okay. In those cases, it will allow you to do it. I think if you have some isolates, you have biomedical. I have. Okay. So it will allow you to draw the extractor from the extractor. Okay.
Okay.
So those things are possible, but to do the processing, basic signal processing and signal processing toolkit is enough.
Enough. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. The session was very good, sir.
Sorry, madam, come again.
So session was very nice, sir.
Oh, thank you, thank you, madam. Any other queries? Anyone? There is one more demo I want to show you, which is actually a real interesting demo. What I'm going to do is I'll just quickly tell you. I'm going to do a real-time application of. I have a song in my application on my laptop. Okay, let me say I'm gonna host that song. Okay, I'll host that song and I'll generate it through my USRP, because here I'm generating a sine signal, transmitting a sine signal, and through USRP transmit and transmit.
Hello, sir.
Hello,
Sir, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
my signal got blocked.
Ah, it's no problem, sir.
Yeah,
Now it's audible and it's okay, sir.
yeah, fine, ma'am.
Ah.
What I was trying to say is, I'll transmit the data from my USRP and receive it through my RF signal. I mean, I'll receive it through my FM. Okay, that's what I'm planning to do. I'll take a new wave for that purpose. All right. So first of all, I'll just quickly show you how to read a audio signal. So I'll go for files here, right click. Graphics and sound.
Sir,
Okay. Yeah.
there is no display, sir.
What? Come again?
Your presentation is not showing.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't present it, is it? Sorry. Okay. Okay, is it presenting now? So hope everyone can see it. I have a untitled 9. All right. So what I'll do is I'll right click, go to graphics and sound. Under graphic and sound, I have sound. Can you see it? So I'm going to call a file. So I'll pin it here. First, I'm supposed to open the file. Then I'm supposed to read the file. And as usual, after finishing, I have to close it. Okay. So connect it like this. All right. I'm supposed to specify where is that signal. So I'll browse it. On my desktop, I have an audio signal. So yeah, this folder. You can see Airtel ringtone I have. Okay, some random thing I just took it. Okay. So I have this and I can see the signal here. Array, index array. You have array of information. So I'll index one of the items, the 0th element of the array. I'll take it. So I'll just take a waveform graph and plot it here. So what this is going to do is, when I run it, you can see the signal is there. Okay, so whatever maybe the song signal it is, that is here. Okay, so this is going to be the signal I'm going to transmit. Okay, last time I was simulating a sine signal, right? Rather than that, this time I'm using this particular song signal. Okay, it's a sound signal. It can be considered as a song also. This is a song basically. All right. So to do this, once again, I am supposed to do the same, transmission. I have to do the same transmission. So I'll close this. I'll keep this aside. I'll go for measurement IO, USRP, transmit, same functions. All right. Then I'll need a while loop. Okay. Let me keep while loop only for this particular item. Like this. So open, I'll keep it outside the while loop. Close also, I'll keep it outside the while loop. Only the read function, I'll keep it inside the while loop. All right. I'll take a while loop like this. Clear? So I have to stop it. So if the end of the file has occurred, then I'll stop. Here you see end of the file. If that occurs, I'll stop immediately. All right, simple. So here, once again, the resource device name I'm supposed to specify. The device name is 192.168.10.2. All right. So this is the device name I have. So I'm going to transmit from channel number 1. So TX, active antenna. I'm going to make it as TX1 because I'm going to transmit from here. Reception I'm not at all going to do because I'm going to use my phone to do that reception. Okay. So what will be my IQ rate? IQ rate can be normally the same, 100 kb there. Carrier frequency is a frequency I'm supposed to tune my FM, right? So I'm going to go for visible here to you all at the bottom. I'll keep it at the bottom. For example, it can be 94.7 m. Okay, so you people may not be able to see this, but I have my phone nearby. The distance is very low, so I'm just trying to do it here. So this is the frequency I'm going to transmit my signal to. All right. So this is all it is. Then I'm supposed to transmit. Right click. Sorry, here I have. I'll drag and drop this function. Plant it from here to here. From here to here. All right. But here, one thing I'm going to do is this data. I'm going to resample it. Okay, because why I resample it is because I'm going to continuously run this sample by sample. Okay, not a one entire signal. If I plot the entire signal, what happens is you will not be able to hear the audio. So it has to send sample by sample, right? So I'm resampling the information. For that, what I'll do is signal processing, waveform conditioning, resample continuous. Can you see resampling continuously? So I'll drag and drop this. You have to specify at what dt. Dt is 1 divided by the actual coordinate carrier frequency, IQ frequency. Sorry. All right. The coordinate IQ frequency, I'll pass it to this, like here. All right. Now, I'm supposed to send this, but only thing is I'm supposed to do the modulation because it's a FM modulation, right? Because I can receive an FM modulation. So what I'm going to do is RF communication, modulation, analog modulation. I'll just take MT. MT stands for modulation toolkit. Modulate FM. Okay, this function I'm going to use. So from here to here, from here to here. All right. And here I'm supposed to specify what is the deviation in hertz. The FM deviation we are supposed to specify, right? For example, I'll just make it to be 75,000. All right. It can be any value, but it is gonna do the modulation technique. That is all. Then I'll just close this. All right. So let me quickly check if I have done it right. So the range also I can just slightly increase it. I'll make it 200K. Okay. So antenna is 1. Carrier frequency I can set it on the front panel. The signal is there. Reading it, taking one among it, resampling it. Okay. 75. Okay, I think this is fine. What will I do is I'll switch on my, one second, I'll just bring my phone and I'll open my FM. Present பண்ணுங்க. So what I'll do is I'm presenting from a mobile. So you'll be seeing the screen now. All right. So I'll open the FM. You can see the screen. I think it is echo.
Yes, sir. The screen is visible, sir.
Okay. I'll run this code. One second, it's starting. You can hear it? It is playing in my phone. But I'll play it again from the first. One second, I was unable to turn it on. Okay, you can hear the noise. Now the code has stopped. Okay, the code has stopped, so it is not transmitting. You are hearing the noise. Okay, I'll do it again. I'll run the code, and I've tuned my FM to 94.7. I'm running the code. It is transmitting. You'll hear the song now. Just a minute. All right. So it was transmitting and receiving it. My antenna size was small. If you see this FM station, they'll have big antennas so that anybody in that particular city can listen to that song if they tune it. Okay. So that is how basically it works. Right now I'm using a small antenna, very simple antenna. So it is like transmitting and receiving to a very small range. I have to bring it. I can't go to the end of the room. I'll not be able to get the signal. I have to come closer to the antenna. I have to bring my phone closer to the antenna. Then you will see that the data is being receiving. I was unable to show it. I was just switching on the FM. I was switching on the FM, but because of I was in the call, the phone also was in the call, right? This meet, it was not switching on. So then I disconnected myself, and then I just did it. It worked. That is all it was. All right. Is it clear what I did? The same thing I've done. Only thing is I have just used a signal which is from a file. I've taken a signal from a file, which is a music signal from a file. I resampled it. Why I resampled it is very simple. This won't go as a bunch of signal. I don't want this to go as a bunch of signal. I want it to go sample by sample. Only then you'll hear the song, correct? Only then you'll be able to listen to the song. For that purpose, what I'm doing is I'm resampling it. And then FM modulation I'm doing because my receiver is doing demodulation, correct? In my phone, the FM app which I have, it is doing a FM demodulation. So I'm modulating the FM, and this value I'm just giving, it can be, I've just given a random value, exactly speaking. The factor of deviation, I'm just giving a random data. It can be any value anyway in the higher frequency, and then I'm just sending it. That is all I've done. Okay, simple, it works. If you use bigger antenna, you can use for this. There is a college called Sona. Heard about this college Sona in Salem? Sona College in Salem. They own their own FM. Okay, they have their own FM. Okay, in Salem region, you will come to know. So they are using NI technology, this USRP only for their base station. Okay, and they have big antenna. Through that, they are transmitting this information. Okay, so you can do this also. Clear? Any queries related to this? Because last I have one more demo to show you. That I'll be completing. Any queries, anyone till now? No queries. Was it clear? Because in between I just broke. The reason is it was not connecting. My FM was not switching on because of the Google Meet. Okay, so that was a problem. Then I disconnected from the Google Meet, and then it did connected to that. So any you felt discomfort, or you're like understanding what I did? If you have any queries, please let me know. I'll see some messages.
So friends, if you're having any queries, clarify with us, sir.
All right. If there is no much queries, I'll quickly move to one more small demo that I'm not going to develop it. I have the code. I'll just quickly show that to you. This is nothing but, for cryptography, if you have a big packet of data, so you have to convert the data into a packet and send the packet and receive, usually that format. So this is a code which we have already done for some research work we have done for some company. So I'll just run that particular program and show you. All right, so it is launching. Okay, so you have transmitter, packet transmitter. Right now, we never converted anything into a packet. Okay, so this one is a packet transmitter. You'll see parameters will quickly change if there is anything needed. Yeah, the parameter is fine. The receiver, I'll go. I'll come for receiver. All right. Okay, only thing is I'll change this to the actual IP. RX2 I'll make it because RX1 and PX1 are trans receiver. I can either transmit or receive, not both. Okay, so I can either transmit or receive, not both at a time. So if I use transmission, I have to use one because there's only one transmitter but two receiving channel. So transferring from one, receiving from two. Okay, so the data message is here. I'm transmitting this information. Okay, and this is the data. Can you see the text data, textual data? I'll slightly move this so it looks visible to you. This is a constellation diagram plotting I versus Q. We are anyway doing IQ, right? I have not received it. Antenna 2, everything seems fine. Just a minute. 192.168. RX2. Also fine. So got the data back. Once again. Let me check the parameters. 500, 2.5. Okay. The receiving frequency should be 2.5 gigahertz. Sorry. That was the problem. Yeah. You can see I've received the data. The problem was 2.5 gigahertz was a frequency. Here it was a different frequency. Okay. So the display is this, and you can see the constellation diagram here. All right. And if I can change the data here, once again, I'll just name it 3 here. Just some small changes I do, and run it here. Once again, the packets are stacked up. I'll run it continuously. Yeah, can you see the data has changed? Okay, so whatever I'm sending here, that can be received here and can be in long distance also. We use this for cryptographic applications and other stuff. But the thing is, I just want to show the constellation diagram to you people. So stop this. I'll come to the constellation diagram. You have one single function to do this. Okay, this code is slightly bigger. That's the reason I just didn't demonstrate. I didn't develop it. I'm just showing a demonstration. You have one particular function, the signal data, whatever you have, you can just put it here, and this will plot you the IQ information. Okay, I versus Q information, you can do it. All right. And one thing is the carrier frequency, whatever we set here, right? Yeah, carrier frequency, TX frequency, whatever we set here, right? If you're going for coordinative networks, then what happens is you have to, as one of the faculty was asking, how to find the spectrum analogy, how to find the power in the spectrum. So you'll find the power in the spectrum, find out which frequency band has the lesser frequency, lesser power, and try to send it through that. So that it means that there is low power. It means that the traffic is low. Okay, so you'll transmit to that. Right now we are fixing it to 2.5 gigahertz. That time we'll not do that. We'll not fix it to 2.5 or something. It will be automatically switching depending upon the traffic. Wherever there is a low power, we'll be trying to switch and we can do it. One thing is you have to install that toolkit. The particular toolkit, if it is installed, we'll be able to see that also. Clear? This is a simple example. I'm just trying to demonstrate that there are multiple packets also. You can send the data as a packet and receive it. So packet formation is pretty simple only. I'll just show that also if you want. So packet formation, this is the packet formation. So you have a GOT bit, then sync bit, then packet number, how many packets you're sending, the data, and the last is going to be packet. This is the bit information for them. So this is how the packet is formed. The code, whatever you see on that LabVIEW code which I'm showing, this is the packet formation I'm doing in LabVIEW. Okay, so this is how I'm forming the packet and sending the packet information. Yes. So this is the data, you'll down convert it and we are receiving it. This was a signal, received signal we saw. All right. This was the signal we anyway saw in the, can you see the received signal? This is what we saw there. Okay. Yeah. This is a packet formation also you can do. You can also try to send, image data. You can try to send, video data, streaming video. That's where no problem comes. That's where MIMO comes into picture. If you want to stream the data, there will be a small delay, the buffer, because the packet has to be converted into images. The frames have to be converted into images. Images have a lot of, if the HD information is being sent, HD video is sent, the pixel resolution is also high, the color quality is high, the data bit is also high. So in that case, what happens is it becomes slow. That's where we break the signal into 2-3 video into 2-3 pieces and try to send through MIMO. So this hardware supports MIMO also. At max, we can go for 160 plus MIMOs we can send. Okay. So depending upon the number of antenna, you can just go. The optocoupler has limitation. Optocoupler syncs the all USRP together. Okay, optocoupler. So optocoupler allows you to connect to 168. I think, I'm not sure exactly, some number around 160 plus 168 or 162. USRP can be connected and MIMO can be formed. That's a massive MIMO. Actually speaking, that is a massive MIMO. These many antennas together. Because one optocoupler can do it. If you have multiple optocoupler, then you're going to have a very big MIMO. Okay. So yeah, MIMO technology is also possible with this. And apart from the USRP, which is RF range, there is also millimeter range hardware also from NI. So a lot of devices which are coming up for radio frequency and cognitive networks and 5G, 6G. There are a lot of devices coming in. So there are a few devices which are not available for academic purpose also, as I told you in the beginning. They are only available for research work. All right. So there are a lot of stuff you can do. Any other queries, anyone? So with this, I'm just going to conclude it. If there is any query, we have 5 more minutes left out. I'll just leave this dias open for no queries. Any other queries, you can just feel free to ask me.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Actually, there is a toolkit related with the FPGA.
Yes, sir.
Can you give some details about it?
Okay. Sir, that FPGA, yes, sir, correct. FPGA toolkit basically, see, NI has a lot of RIO cards, RIO cards. Even for USRP, I was talking about RIO. Okay. So these RIO cards, what is the difference between normal USRP and non-USRP RIO, or normal DAC system and a RIO system will be? It has a FPGA processor inside. So these FPGA processors are designed from Xilinx only. NI partnering with Xilinx, they have come up with these devices. Okay. So these FPGA devices can be programmed using LabVIEW also. See, usually people think that hardware description language, there are 2 hardware description language, Verilog and VHDL. Only these 2 they think are available. But actually there are 3 hardware description language. One is LabVIEW. But what happens is you can write your program in LabVIEW. Okay, that FPGA toolkit, there is a toolkit called FPGA toolkit that allows you to write a program in LabVIEW. Okay, so after writing the program, a bit file, you have to compile it. The compilation will take some time and the bit file will be generated. The bit file will be dumped into the FPGA. This is how it works. Okay, so this FPGA also comes with a compilation form. So you can convert your LabVIEW code into a bit file. Okay, and dump that bit file into your FPGA, which is MyRIO. The FPGA device comes with MyRIO is a device, CRIO is a device, USRP is a device. SBRIO, single board RIO. SBRIO is also called as a single board RIO. Then Robo RIO. The n number of RIO cards we can program using LabVIEW. So there you use FPGA. Only advantage of FPGA is you can do parallel acquisitions. So there are no small gates there. You can design the program however you want, and the parallel acquisition will happen. But if you see your laptop or even your processes, usually they convert everything into a bus. When I say bus, it's nothing but a serial communication. So serial communication, if I have 100 tasks to do, even though your computer have multiple cores, hardly it will be handling like 5 to 6 tasks at a time. So after that, what happens? It has to switch between tasks. So 5 tasks, 5 tasks, 5 tasks, it has to go. So it will be a small delay. Jitter delay will be there to perform any task. When it comes to FPGA, you can design it in such a way that if you have a breadboard, you do a lot of circuits in a breadboard. Think there is a breadboard where you can put thousands and thousands, millions of circuits into it. It's a huge gate you have, so things can be parallel done. You give input and take the output parallelly, right? And the speed is also high. The reason is you're doing through electric conductivity, not a packet formation is not there, right? So because of these kind of reasons, FPGA is always considered fastest embedded application, which we have used in automation. Clear, sir? Any other details you want about it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One more doubt, sir. Suppose
Yes, sir.
if we have in our lab someone USR circuit,
Yes,
we have some other devices like some Wi-Fi nodes and some kind of Zigbee nodes.
Okay,
I want to monitor the what are the nodes active and how what are the traffic occurs between the nodes. How can we use USRB as a monitoring device in that particular?
yes, sir.
You
For
know,
that,
give something about it.
anyway, see, USRP don't have compatibility to those devices which you say. But one thing you can do is you can use LabVIEW as a connective platform where you can control both LabVIEW and those devices. Your Zigbee device or Bluetooth device, whatever you have, you can monitor it through LabVIEW. LabVIEW has those toolkits also. They're simple, Zigbee applications only. They have Visa toolkit. It comes with basic LabVIEW only. So with that, you can monitor that also. So you can interconnect them through LabVIEW software. That's the ultimate advantage of software, which eTest doesn't give you. I told you about eTest software, which is a free software that is used for USRP. Right? So eTest software can be used, but these kind of integration application can't be done. So with LabVIEW, yes, you can do that, sir. You can interface. You can use LabVIEW as a monitoring end, and you can get the data from the your external devices, whatever Zigbee or Bluetooth, send it to LabVIEW. From LabVIEW, you can send it to USRP. By this method, you can do it, sir. That's possible, obviously possible. Here you can see, right, recovered message you have, right? This can be the status. Rather than this information, I'll send the status of that particular devices, right? So I will convert it into a packet, send it to the USRP. USRP will be transmitting. At the other end, some other device can be receiving it. I told you, right? Once again, the platform is completely open. We are transmitting through RF. Receiving end can be any other mode of RF communication. Only thing is you have to know the carrier frequency and demodulate it based on the modulation technique you do. So it is obviously possible, but use a platform LabVIEW to do this, to integrate that. That is all you have to do. Clear, sir?
Yes, okay. Why you are concerned with the LabVIEW? Okay, this belongs to the LabVIEW because of
Yes, sir.
uh,
Yes, sir.
why I am asking about just monitoring the nodes. Why you want to integrate with that nodes with the LabVIEW? They are independent. So,
Correct. I understand. I'll answer this. I was giving the reason for this. So this USRP kit, because the person who asked me the doubt, he wants to monitor everything through USRP, right? So in this case, what happens is I have USRP. USRP can be accessed or programmed or monitored through two softwares. One is LabVIEW and eTest. Okay. So eTest I can use, as I told you, eTest you can use it to program this NI hardware. See, if this was not USRP, it was a different hardware. If that hardware has the provisions beyond LabVIEW, like USRP has the provisions beyond LabVIEW to use eTest. So you can program this through eTest. The problem with eTest now is it doesn't interface with your Zigbee or your Bluetooth. So that information of eTest, the Bluetooth and Zigbee information will not come to your eTest. Now, once what you have to do is you have to integrate them through one more software you need. Okay, some software you have to find where the data has to be converted into packet format, and then the packet information has to be fed manually to your eTest, and the eTest will be transmitting through USRP. All right. So that is the only problem. eTest will do only the RF applications. As I told you, it can do only RF applications, like setting this channel, setting the channel auto scaling, everything it will be doing. All right, related to this RF USRP module. But beyond that, it will not be doing anything. Right. But LabVIEW beyond ETS, it can also have it has the ability to interface the other hardwares also. So you can bring that hardware, both can be connected parallelly to LabVIEW. So LabVIEW can handle both at a time. So it will collect the information and send it to USRP. Just a connective medium, that is all, not beyond it. Yes, sir. But if you have the intention of not doing it manually is nothing but, see, this ZigBee data can be accessed in Arduino only, for example. So Arduino details you'll be reading. You can ping it and they get the data in Arduino. The data you have to copy manually and put it onto the ETS. Okay, and then ETS will be sending the data, right? So that will be the constraint for you. Apart from that, there is no other constraint. If this hardware USRP, if there is a chance that USRP can be programmed using C also, C program also is possible. For example, if that comes an option, then you don't want LabVIEW at all, because your ZigBee can be programmed using C, and you can collect the data in the C and give it to USRP, because USRP also can be connected to C in case that feature was there. That feature is not there. It is have only 2 features of LabVIEW and ETS. So we have to use any one of this. That's why we are restricting to LabVIEW. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, sir. If there is no other query, we can wind up. If there is query, you can just ask me. No issues.
Sir, I think there is no queries from the participant side.
All right, madam. Then you can just conclude, madam. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, thank you for the wonderful presentation, sir. The session was very informative and extremely helpful for our participants in order to gain the knowledge in the domain of LabVIEW. Surely, they will implement this concept in their future work as well as in the academics also. So, once again, thank you for sharing your valuable things with us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So, dear participants, here I'm going to post the link for attendance for the session. So, kindly complete the attendance. So, the next session will start by 12 noon. The session is handled by Dr. Shuganti ma'am. So, kindly join the session shortly by 11:55.